I didn't destroy you. You destroyed yourself.
The second phone buzzed at 2:47 a.m., and that's when I knew my marriage was over. I'd been lying awake in our king-size bed, staring at the ceiling of our Connecticut Colonial, listening to the familiar sounds of suburban silence. Celeste had been gone for 3 days on what she called a critical corporate communications conference in Boston. But something felt wrong. After 17 years of marriage, you develop an instinct for your spouse's lies. The buzzing came from downstairs, muffled but persistent. I slipped out of bed, my bare feet silent on the hardwood floors I'd refinished myself 2 summers ago. Back when I still believed in home improvement. Back when I thought fixing things mattered. The sound led me to our laundry room, where I found a sleek iPhone hidden behind the fabric softener. Not Celeste's usual phone. This one had a pink case with rhinestones. Very unlike my wife's professional image. I picked it up. The screen showed 17 missed messages from D with a fire emoji. Missing you already, gorgeous. Can't wait for next weekend. Your husband still clueless? LOL. That thing you did with your tongue. Jesus, Celeste. My hands shook as I scrolled through weeks of explicit messages, photos that made my stomach turn, videos time-stamped to nights when Celeste claimed she was working late at Morrison & Associates, the corporate communications firm where she'd been a director for 8 years. Oliver Ollie Harlan, that's me. 42 years old, former IT consultant turned home renovation contractor. The guy who fixed everyone else's problems while his own life fell apart in real time. I'd always been the steady one, the reliable one, the one everyone underestimated. Not anymore. I photographed everything with my own phone, then carefully placed the device back behind the Downy. My mind raced through possibilities, scenarios, revenge fantasies. But first, I needed confirmation. At 6 a.m., I called Morrison & Associates. Hi, this is Oliver Harlan, Celeste's husband. She left some important documents at home for the Boston conference. Could you give me the hotel information so I can courier them over? The receptionist's confused pause told me everything. Mr. Harlan, there's no conference this week. Mrs. Harlan took personal vacation days. I see. Thank you. I hung up and laughed, actually laughed, at the beautiful simplicity of it. Celeste had gotten sloppy, arrogant. She thought I was too stupid, too trusting, too pathetic to figure it out. She was wrong. I made coffee and sat in my home office, surrounded by the architectural plans and contractor estimates that had become my new career after the tech industry chewed me up and spat me out 3 years ago. Celeste had been supportive during my career change, but I'd caught her eye rolls when she thought I wasn't looking. Her subtle comments about blue-collar work and reaching our potential. Now I understood. She'd been planning her exit strategy. My laptop hummed to life. One advantage of my IT background, I knew computers, I knew passwords. I knew that Celeste, despite her intelligence, used the same password for everything. Maddie, 2004, our daughter's name and birth year. Her laptop yielded treasures. A folder labeled Travel contained hotel reservations, spa bookings, restaurant receipts. All for romantic getaways with someone who wasn't her husband. Credit card statements showed charges at Victoria's Secret, expensive lingerie I'd never seen. Jewelry purchases that never made it home. But the real prize was buried in her email drafts. Dozens of messages to her best friend Kendra Walsh, Morrison & Associates HR director. Ollie's so pathetic these days, moping around the house, playing with his tools. Damien makes me feel alive again. I can't wait to dump the dead weight. Damien's divorce should be final by Christmas. Then we can be together properly. The house is worth $800K. I'll get half, plus alimony. Ollie won't fight me. He doesn't have the spine. Damien. So that was D with the fire emoji. I leaned back in my chair, processing 17 years of marriage dissolving into lies and betrayal. But instead of devastation, I felt something unexpected, clarity. For the first time in months, I knew exactly what I needed to do. The front door slammed. Celeste was back early. Ollie, I'm home. Her voice carried that fake brightness she used when she was hiding something. I quickly closed the laptop and walked downstairs. She stood in our foyer, designer luggage at her feet, looking radiant in a way that had nothing to do with a business conference. Her auburn hair was perfectly styled, her skin glowing. She wore a new dress I didn't recognize. Emerald green, expensive, the kind of thing you wear for a lover. How was Boston? I asked, keeping my voice neutral. She kissed my cheek, and I smelled unfamiliar cologne. Exhausting, but productive. Lots of networking. She avoided my eyes. I'm going to shower. Good conference hotel? What? Oh, yes, very nice. The Marriott downtown. I nodded. According to her credit card, she'd been at the Four Seasons, with Damien Voss, Senior Vice President of Strategic Development at Morrison & Associates. I'd looked him up during my morning research. 40 years old, recently separated, drives a Tesla Model S, owns a condo in the expensive part of town. "I'll make dinner," I said. "You're sweet." She headed upstairs, her heels clicking on the hardwood. While she showered, I opened her purse. Her real phone contained more evidence: restaurant photos, selfies with a man I now knew was Damien, handsome in that corporate executive way with perfect teeth and silver at his temples. Everything I wasn't. But I had something he didn't: motivation. That evening, I played the perfect husband. I made Celeste's favorite pasta, opened a bottle of wine, asked about her conference. She spun elaborate lies about keynote speakers and networking events, her creativity impressive. Under different circumstances, I might have admired her performance. "You seem different," she said over dessert. "Different how?" "I don't know. Calmer, maybe? You've been so stressed lately with the business." If she only knew. I felt calmer because I'd found my purpose. For months, I'd been drifting, questioning my career change, my worth, my future. Now everything was crystal clear. "Just happy to have you home," I said. She smiled and touched my hand. "I love you, Ollie." The lie came so easily. I wondered how many times she'd said it while planning to leave me. After dinner, Celeste went to bed early, claiming conference exhaustion. I stayed up, researching Damien Voss. Social media revealed a man who loved expensive toys, exclusive restaurants, and posting photos of his lifestyle. His LinkedIn showed an impressive career trajectory at Morrison & Associates, rising from account executive to senior VP in 10 years. His Facebook relationship status still said married, though his wife had stopped appearing in photos months ago. Recent posts showed him at charity galas and corporate events, always with different women. My wife had been in 3 photos over the past 6 weeks, carefully cropped to hide her face but recognizable by her jewelry. I studied Damien's patterns, his habits, his weaknesses. He was predictable in the way successful people often are. Same gym, same coffee shop, same lunch spots. He documented everything online, making surveillance unnecessary. But I needed more than information. I needed allies. The next morning, after Celeste left for work, I drove to Murphy's Tavern on the south side of town. Pete Murphy had been my friend since high school, one of the few people who'd stuck around when my life imploded. His bar served as the unofficial information hub for our small city's blue-collar community. "You look like heck," Pete said, pulling me a beer despite the 11 a.m. hour. "Feel worse." I told him everything: the phone, the messages, the fake conference. Pete listened without interruption, his expression growing darker. "Jesus, Ollie, I'm sorry, man." "Don't be sorry, be helpful. You hear things in here. Tell me about Damien Voss." Pete's face hardened. "That piece of crap? Yeah, I know him. Comes in sometimes with his corporate buddies, acts like he owns the place, tips like crap, treats the waitresses like servants." He paused. "You want to know something interesting? He was here last month with a redhead. Didn't get a good look, but they were all over each other in the corner booth. My wife, in Pete's bar, making out with her lover while I was home working on kitchen estimates. What else? Word is his divorce is getting ugly. Wife's taking him to the cleaners. Apparently she found out about the affairs, plural. Your Celeste isn't his first." That stung, but it also provided ammunition. If Damien had a pattern of destroying marriages, it made him a bigger target. "I need a favor, Pete. Name it. Keep your ears open, and if you see them together again, call me." Pete nodded. "What are you planning? Nothing illegal? Nothing violent? Just consequences?" He grinned. About time someone taught that a whole lesson. I spent the afternoon driving around town thinking. Revenge fantasies had sustained me through the initial shock, but now I needed a real plan. Something that would destroy both Celeste and Damien without destroying myself in the process. The key was patience. I had advantages they didn't know about: access to Celeste's accounts, knowledge of their relationship, and the element of surprise. They thought I was oblivious, pathetic, harmless. They were about to learn otherwise. That evening, Celeste announced another business trip for the following weekend. "Chicago this time," she said, not meeting my eyes. "Big client presentation." I nodded sympathetically. "You work so hard. You deserve some fun." She looked surprised by my supportive tone. "Thanks, honey. I know I've been traveling a lot lately. It's fine, I understand. Career comes first." According to her credit card, she'd already booked the Four Seasons again, but not in Chicago, right here in town. They weren't even trying to be clever anymore. After she went to bed, I made my first move. I created anonymous email accounts and began documenting everything. Photos of receipts, screenshots of messages, timestamps, and locations. I built a comprehensive file of their affair, organized and devastating. But evidence wasn't enough. I needed to hurt them where it mattered most. Their reputations, their careers, their social standing. In our small city, image was everything. Scandal could destroy years of careful networking and relationship building. I thought about Kendra Walsh, Celeste's best friend and confidant. According to the email drafts, she knew about the affair and actively encouraged it. As HR director, she had professional obligations she was ignoring. That made her complicit and vulnerable. Then there was Morrison and Associates itself, a family-owned firm that prided itself on traditional values and community involvement. They wouldn't appreciate a senior VP carrying on with a subordinate's wife, especially when that subordinate was a client-facing director. The pieces were falling into place, but I needed the perfect moment, the right catalyst to bring it all crashing down. As I sat in my dark office, planning the destruction of my marriage and my wife's career, I felt more alive than I had in years. They'd awakened something in me I didn't know existed, a capacity for calculated revenge that surprised even me. Celeste was right about one thing. I had changed, but not in the way she thought. I was done being underestimated. Friday morning arrived with autumn rain and the promise of revelation. Celeste left for her Chicago trip at 9 a.m., kissing me goodbye with practiced affection. I watched from the window as she loaded her overnight bag, the expensive leather set I'd bought for our 15th anniversary, into her BMW. "Have a safe flight," I called out. She waved without looking back. 20 minutes later, I was parked across from the Four Seasons downtown, watching Damien's Tesla pull into valet parking. He emerged wearing a charcoal suit that probably cost more than I made in a week, his silver hair perfectly styled. Everything about him screamed success and entitlement. He didn't notice the middle-aged contractor in the beat-up Ford pickup. Why would he? I was invisible to men like Damien Voss. That would be his first mistake. I followed him into the lobby, staying back, observing. He moved with the confidence of a man who'd never faced real consequences. At the front desk, he leaned close to the clerk, probably making some joke about the surprise guest who'd be joining him. My phone buzzed. Text from Celeste. "Flight delayed. Going to be a long day. Love you." I almost laughed out loud. The creativity was impressive. Instead of confronting them immediately, I drove to Morrison and Associates. The corporate headquarters occupied a gleaming glass building in the business district, the kind of place that screamed, "We're important." I'd been there exactly once, for a company Christmas party 3 years ago. Celeste had introduced me to colleagues with barely concealed embarrassment. "This is my husband, Ollie. He's in construction now." The pause before construction had said everything. I parked in the visitor lot and studied the building. Security cameras, keycard access, professional atmosphere. But every fortress had weaknesses, and I knew this one intimately. Celeste had complained about it for years. The smoking area behind the building, for instance, officially banned but tolerated for senior staff. No cameras, minimal foot traffic. Perfect for private conversations or, say, anonymous evidence drops. I also knew the company's culture. Morrison and Associates was run by Thomas Morrison Jr., a third-generation owner who'd built the firm's reputation on family values and community involvement. His father had started the business in 1967 with the motto, "Integrity First." That motto was engraved in the lobby, painted on the walls, printed on every business card. A senior VP screwing a director's wife would violate everything Morrison stood for. My phone rang. Pete Murphy. "Your boy's at it again," he said. "Just left here with some corporate types, bragging about his weekend plans. Said he was going to show his lady a real good time at some fancy hotel." Did he mention names? Nah, but he was pretty drunk. Kept talking about how some poor bastard husband had no idea his wife was getting premium service elsewhere. Premium service. Like my wife was a luxury car getting detailed. "Thanks, Pete. Keep listening." "Will do. And Ollie? Whatever you're planning, make it count." I drove home and spent the afternoon in my workshop, a converted garage where I kept my tools and materials. Physical work helped me think, and I had a lot to process. Celeste and Damien were getting sloppy, overconfident. That gave me opportunities, but I needed more than opportunities. I needed leverage. The answer came to me while I was sanding a cabinet door for a client. Kendra Walsh wasn't just Celeste's friend. She was Morrison and Associates HR director. She had access to personnel files, company policies, disciplinary procedures. If I could prove she knew about the affair and failed to report it, she'd face professional consequences too. Better yet, Kendra had a weakness. She was a gossip. Celeste's emails revealed dozens of conversations where Kendra shared confidential information about other employees. That was a fireable offense at any company, but especially at Morrison and Associates, where discretion was paramount. I needed to get Kendra talking, on record. That evening, I implemented Phase 1. I called Morrison and Associates' main number and asked for Kendra Walsh. Kendra, this is Oliver Harlan, Celeste's husband. I hope you don't mind me calling. Oh, hi, Oliver. Is everything okay? Celeste is traveling, isn't she? That's actually why I'm calling. She left her phone charger at home, and I wanted to surprise her by having one delivered to her hotel. But I can't remember which hotel she's staying at in Chicago. Pause. I could practically hear Kendra's brain working. Chicago. Let me check her travel request. Another pause. You know what, Oliver? I don't have that information handy. Maybe call her directly. I tried, but her phone's dying. That's why she needs the charger. Right. Well, I'm sure she'll figure something out. Kendra was protecting Celeste, but her hesitation told me everything. She knew there was no Chicago trip. Thanks anyway. Hey, while I have you, Celeste mentioned you might know a good restaurant for our anniversary next month. She said you and Damien Voss had some great recommendations from your recent dinner. Complete silence. I'm not sure what you mean. Oh, maybe I misunderstood. Celeste said you all went out together recently. You, her, Damien, maybe some other colleagues. I really should go, Oliver. Busy afternoon. She hung up. Perfect. Kendra was rattled, which meant she'd probably call Celeste immediately. That would create tension between them, maybe force mistakes. My phone buzzed 30 minutes later. Celeste. Hi, honey. How's your day? Fine. Missing you. How's Chicago? Cold and boring. Listen, did you call Kendra about something? Just asked about restaurant recommendations for our anniversary. Why? No reason. She seemed confused, that's all. Probably busy. You know how she gets. Right. Well, I should go. Dinner, meeting with clients. Have fun. Love you. Love you too. Another lie, delivered with practiced ease. I spent Saturday morning implementing Phase 2. Surveillance. Not of Celeste and Damien. I knew where they were and what they were doing. Instead, I focused on their support network. Kendra Walsh lived in a townhouse development 15 minutes from downtown. Divorced, no kids, her life revolved around work and social climbing. She drove a white Lexus and had a weakness for expensive wine and designer handbags. I parked down the street and watched her house. At 11 a.m., she emerged in yoga clothes and drove to an upscale fitness studio. Predictable. While she was gone, I walked through her neighborhood, noting details. Security cameras were minimal, mostly doorbell systems. The community had a false sense of security, the kind of place where people left garage doors open and packages on porches. At 1 p.m., Kendra returned with shopping bags from Nordstrom and Whole Foods. She looked agitated, checking her phone constantly. My call had definitely upset her routine. That afternoon, I visited 3 more locations: Damien's condo complex, Morrison and Associates, and the Four Seasons. I wasn't planning anything illegal, just gathering intelligence, understanding patterns, identifying vulnerabilities, building a comprehensive picture of my targets' lives. By Sunday evening, when Celeste returned from her fake business trip, I had everything I needed to destroy them all. She came home glowing and relaxed, full of stories about her successful presentation and the potential new clients she'd impressed. The lies flowed effortlessly, each one adding fuel to the fire building inside me. You look happy, I said. It was a great trip, really productive. I think we might land that account. That's wonderful. I'm proud of you. She kissed me, and I tasted betrayal on her lips. That night, as she slept beside me, probably dreaming of her lover, I finalized my plan. It would unfold in stages, each revelation more devastating than the last. By the time I was finished, Celeste and Damien would understand what it meant to underestimate Oliver Harlan. The countdown had begun. Monday morning brought opportunity wrapped in routine. Celeste left for work at her usual 7:30 a.m., coffee mug in hand, briefcase over her shoulder, playing the role of dedicated professional. She had no idea this would be her last normal day. I waited until 9 a.m., then drove to Morrison and Associates with a manila envelope containing carefully selected evidence. Not everything, that would come later. Just enough to plant seeds of doubt and start conversations. The lobby was busy with morning foot traffic, employees badging in, visitors signing registers. I approached the reception desk wearing my best contractor clothes and most innocent expression. "Hi, I'm here to deliver some documents for Thomas Morrison Jr., I told the receptionist, a young woman with perfect makeup and a practiced smile. "Do you have an appointment?" "No, but this is time-sensitive. Legal documents regarding employee conduct. I was told to deliver them directly to Mr. Morrison." The magic words, legal documents and employee conduct, got immediate attention. The receptionist called upstairs, spoke quietly, then handed me a visitor badge. "10th floor, executive suite. Someone will meet you at the elevator." Perfect. The someone turned out to be Morrison's assistant, a stern woman in her 50s who'd probably been guarding executives since before I was born. She led me through carpeted hallways lined with awards and family photos, the Morrison legacy on full display. "Mr. Morrison is in meetings all morning," she said. "I can accept the documents on his behalf." "I understand. Please make sure he reviews them today. The situation is sensitive." I handed her the envelope, marked "Confidential Employee Conduct Violation" in block letters. Inside were printed screenshots of Celeste and Damien's text messages, carefully edited to remove anything too explicit, but leave no doubt about the nature of their relationship. Also included, a timeline of Celeste's fake business trips, credit card receipts from their hotel stays, and a professional-looking summary titled "Potential HR Violations, Extramarital Relationship Between Senior Staff Members." The assistant's expression remained neutral, but I caught her glancing at the envelope's label. In a company built on family values, employee conduct violations were serious business. "I'll make sure Mr. Morrison sees this immediately," she said. "Thank you. And please, discretion is important. We wouldn't want rumors spreading before the facts are reviewed." She nodded gravely. I'd just given her permission to gossip while making it seem like I was asking for the opposite. Psychology 101. I left Morrison and Associates feeling lighter than I had in weeks. The first domino was in motion. My next stop was Pete's Bar, where I found my old friend restocking bottles and preparing for the lunch crowd. "You look different," he said. "Almost happy?" "Getting there. I need another favor." "Go ahead." "Damien Voss comes in here sometimes, right? Usually with colleagues?" "Yeah, maybe once a month. Always acts like he's doing us a favor by showing up." "Next time he comes in, I want you to mention something, casually. Say you heard rumors about Morrison and Associates having some kind of internal investigation. HR issues, employee conduct, that sort of thing." Pete grinned. "Stirring the pot?" "Just adding some seasoning. Can you do it?" "Brother, it'll be my pleasure." I spent the rest of Monday afternoon working on a legitimate renovation project, a kitchen remodel for the Hendersons, a nice couple who'd hired me based on Pete's recommendation. The physical work felt good, normal, grounding, but part of my mind stayed focused on the larger project, dismantling my wife's life piece by piece. At 6 p.m., Celeste came home looking stressed. She moved through our house with nervous energy, checking her phone constantly, starting conversations, and abandoning them mid-sentence. "Everything okay?" I asked over dinner. "Just work stuff. Some kind of personnel review happening. Management's being secretive about it. Probably nothing serious. You know how corporate gets about policy updates." She nodded, but I could see the worry in her eyes. Good. Worry would make her careless. "How was your day?" she asked, making an effort to seem normal. "Productive. Finished the Henderson kitchen, started planning the bathroom renovation for the Kowalskis. Oh, and I ran into Tom Morrison at the hardware store." Complete lie. But Celeste's reaction was worth it. She nearly choked on her wine. "Tom Morrison? You mean Thomas Morrison Jr.? "Yeah, we chatted for a few minutes. Nice guy. Asked about you, actually. Said there might be some changes coming at the company." "Changes? What kind of changes?" He didn't elaborate. Just mentioned something about maintaining professional standards and company reputation. You know how executives talk. Celeste's face went pale. She excused herself and disappeared upstairs, probably to call Kendra or text Damien. I gave her privacy to panic. Later that evening, while she was in the shower, I checked her phone. 7 missed calls from Kendra, 3 from Damien. The text messages were frantic. Kendra: "Something's happening. Morrison called an emergency meeting for tomorrow." Damien: "Stay calm. We don't know anything yet." Celeste: "What if they know? What if someone saw us?" Damien: "Impossible. We've been careful. Careful." Right. They'd been about as careful as teenagers sneaking out after curfew. Tuesday morning brought phase 2. While Celeste was getting ready for work, moving with the jerky urgency of someone expecting disaster, I made a series of phone calls, first to Morrison and Associates HR department, asking to speak with Kendra Walsh about employment verification for Celeste. When Kendra came on the line, I could hear the stress in her voice. "This is regarding Celeste Harlan's employment history," I said, disguising my voice slightly. "We're conducting a background check for a potential client contract. Can you confirm her current position and any disciplinary actions on file?" Who is this exactly?" "Pinnacle Security Solutions. We handle background checks for government contractors. This is routine verification." Silence. "Then, I'll need to call you back with that information." "Of course. But I should mention we're also looking into any potential conflicts of interest or inappropriate relationships with colleagues. Standard procedure for security clearances." I hung up before she could respond. Second call. To Damien's direct line at Morrison & Associates. "Damien Voss speaking." "Mr. Voss, this is Detective Martinez with the Connecticut State Police." Another voice disguise, slightly deeper. "We're investigating a complaint regarding harassment and inappropriate conduct involving Morrison & Associates employees. I need to schedule an interview with you this week." What? What kind of complaint?" "I can't discuss details over the phone, but it involves allegations of inappropriate conduct and misuse of power. Are you available Thursday morning?" "There must be some mistake. I haven't—" "Thursday at 10 a.m., Morrison & Associates Conference Room B. Don't discuss this with colleagues or potential witnesses. It could compromise the investigation." I hung up. Both calls were completely illegal, impersonating law enforcement, making false claims about background checks. But they weren't designed to fool anyone for long, just long enough to create panic and force mistakes. The beauty was in the timing. Celeste and Damien were already paranoid about the mysterious envelope delivered to Morrison's office. Now they'd be convinced the walls were closing in. I spent Tuesday afternoon at the Henderson house, installing cabinet hardware and enjoying the satisfaction of honest work. But I kept my phone close, waiting for the inevitable calls. They came at 3:47 p.m. "Ollie? It's me." Celeste's voice was shaky, desperate. "Something's happening at work. There's some kind of investigation, and they're asking questions about personal relationships between employees." "What kind of questions?" "I can't talk about it over the phone." "Can you come pick me up? I don't think I should drive." "Of course, I'll be right there." I found Celeste waiting outside Morrison & Associates, looking like she'd aged 5 years in one day. Her perfect professional composure had cracked, revealing the frightened woman underneath. "What happened?" I asked as she got in the truck. "Someone filed a complaint about me and—" She stopped, realizing she was about to confess everything. "About you and what?" "It's complicated. There are rumors, accusations. I think someone's trying to destroy my career." "Who would do that?" She looked at me with desperate eyes. "I don't know. But Ollie, I need you to know that whatever you hear, whatever people say, I love you. Our marriage means everything to me." The lies came so easily, even in crisis. Even facing professional ruin, she couldn't tell me the truth. "I love you too," I said. "We'll get through this together." But as I drove my wife home, watching her compose text messages to her lover, I knew we were already finished. The only question now was how much damage I could inflict before the final collapse. The answer, I was learning, was considerable. Wednesday brought the reckoning I'd been orchestrating. Celeste left for work that morning like a condemned woman walking to the gallows, her usual confidence replaced by barely controlled panic. She'd spent most of Tuesday night on whispered phone calls, thinking I was asleep. I wasn't sleeping much these days. Revenge, I discovered, was better than caffeine for keeping you alert. At 10 a.m., I received a call from Pete Murphy. "Your boy showed up," he said, excitement evident in his voice. "Damien and 2 other suits, looking like someone died. I mentioned that investigation rumor like you asked." "How'd he react?" "Went white as a sheet, started asking questions. Who told me? What exactly did I hear? That kind of thing. I played dumb, said it was just bar talk, but he was definitely rattled." "Perfect. Thanks, Pete." "Anytime. This is better than cable TV." By noon, my phone was buzzing with updates. Marcia Peterson, our neighbor and the unofficial neighborhood gossip coordinator, had seen Celeste's car in the Morrison & Associates parking lot since 8 a.m. "She's been sitting out there for hours," Marcia reported during her daily reconnaissance call. "Just sitting in her car, making phone calls. Looks upset." "Probably work stress," I said innocently. "If you say so." But honey, between you and me, something's not right with that girl. A woman doesn't spend 4 hours crying in a parking lot over quarterly reports. Marcia was more perceptive than people gave her credit for. At 2 p.m., I decided it was time for direct action. I drove to Morrison and Associates and found Celeste exactly where Marcia had described, sitting in her BMW, phone pressed to her ear, tears streaming down her face. I parked next to her and tapped on the window. She looked up, startled, then quickly ended her call and rolled down the window. "Ollie, what are you doing here?" "Bringing you lunch." I held up a bag from her favorite deli. "You left without eating this morning." The simple kindness seemed to break something inside her. She started crying harder, ugly sobs that shook her whole body. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry." For a moment, I almost felt bad for her. Almost. "Sorry for what?" She looked at me with desperate eyes, clearly wanting to confess but lacking the courage. "For everything. For being distant lately. For the traveling. For not being the wife you deserve. Close, but not close enough." "You're under a lot of stress," I said gently. "Why don't you come home? Take the afternoon off." "I can't. There's a meeting at 4 p.m. HR wants to see me." "About what?" "I don't know. They won't say. But Ollie, if something happens, if you hear things about me that don't sound right, please remember that I love you. Whatever mistakes I've made, that's always been true." I reached through the window and took her hand. "Nothing's going to happen. And even if it did, we'd face it together. That's what marriage means." She squeezed my hand like a drowning person grabbing a life preserver. "I don't deserve you," she said. "No," I agreed silently. "You really don't." I left her in the parking lot and drove home to wait. The 4 p.m. meeting would be interesting. I'd made sure of that with a final anonymous tip to Thomas Morrison Jr., this one containing the explicit photos I'd held back from my first evidence drop. At 5:30 p.m., my phone rang. Celeste, sobbing so hard I could barely understand her. "They fired me," she managed between gasps. "Effective immediately. Security escorted me out." "What? Why?" "Violation of company policy, inappropriate conduct. They had photos, Ollie. Someone's been watching me, documenting everything." "Photos of what?" Silence. Even facing complete ruin, she couldn't tell me the truth. "I need to come home," she said finally. "Of course. I'll be here." She arrived 20 minutes later, carrying a cardboard box containing 8 years of career achievements. Her face was blotchy from crying, her professional mask completely gone. I met her at the door with a glass of wine and my most concerned expression. "Tell me what happened." She sat at our kitchen island, the same spot where she'd eaten breakfast that morning as a successful corporate director. Now, she was unemployed, disgraced, and facing questions she couldn't answer without destroying what remained of our marriage. "Someone's been investigating me," she said slowly. "They had evidence of inappropriate behavior." "What kind of inappropriate behavior?" "Personal relationships that violated company policy." I waited, giving her the chance to confess. She didn't take it. "There's more," she continued. "They think Kendra knew about it and didn't report it. She's being investigated too. And Damien." She stopped. "Damien what?" "Damien Voss. He's a colleague. We worked together on some projects. They have evidence suggesting we were involved in some way." Some way. Like she'd accidentally fallen on his Johnson repeatedly over 6 months. "Were you?" I asked quietly. She looked at me with panic in her eyes. "It's complicated." "It's really not. Either you were having an affair or you weren't." The word affair hung in the air between us like a loaded tool. Celeste's face crumpled. "I never meant for this to happen," she whispered. It started as friendship, then it became something else. I tried to stop it, but you didn't." "No, I didn't," finally. After months of lies, she'd admitted the truth. I stood up slowly, walked to the kitchen counter, and poured myself a scotch. When I turned back, Celeste was watching me with terrified eyes. "How long?" I asked. 6 months, maybe 7. "The Chicago trip?" "We were at the Four Seasons downtown." "The Boston conference?" "Same hotel." I nodded, processing confirmations of what I already knew. "Do you love him?" "I thought I did, but now everything's falling apart. He won't return my calls. I think he's going to blame everything on me." Of course he was. Men like Damien Voss didn't take responsibility for their actions. They found scapegoats. "What do you want from me, Celeste?" "Forgiveness. A chance to fix this. I know I don't deserve it, but you're right, you don't deserve it. She flinched like I'd slapped her. But I'm not going to make any decisions tonight, I continued. You've lost your job, your reputation is destroyed, and apparently your boyfriend has abandoned you. That seems like enough consequences for one day. He's not my boyfriend. It was a mistake, a terrible mistake. 7 months of mistakes. Yes. I finished my scotch and set the glass down carefully. I'm going to Pete's for a drink. When I get back, I want you to have made a decision. Are you going to keep lying to me, or are you going to tell me everything? And I mean everything. When it started, how it started, where you've been, what you've done, all of it. Ollie, please. Everything, Celeste, or I call a lawyer tomorrow morning. I left her sitting in our kitchen, surrounded by the wreckage of her carefully constructed lies. At Pete's bar, I found exactly what I was looking for. Damien Voss, drinking alone in the corner booth, looking like a man whose world had just collapsed. It was time for the final act. Pete's Tavern was busier than usual for a Wednesday night, filled with the kind of working-class crowd that had no patience for corporate executives and their problems. Damien Voss sat in the corner booth like a man trying to disappear, nursing what looked like his 4th or 5th whiskey. I ordered a beer and studied my wife's lover. Up close, he was less impressive than his social media presence suggested. The silver hair looked gray under the bar's harsh lighting, his expensive suit was wrinkled, and his hands shook slightly as he lifted his glass. After 10 minutes, I walked over to his table. Damien Voss? He looked up with tired, red-rimmed eyes. Do I know you? Oliver Harlan, Celeste's husband. The color drained from his face. He started to stand, but I motioned for him to sit back down. Relax, I'm not here to fight. I just want to talk. I don't think that's a good idea. I do. I slid into the booth across from him. See, I know everything. The hotels, the fake business trips, the text messages, all of it. He stared at me with the expression of a man watching his life implode in real time. I can explain. No need. I'm not here for explanations. I'm here to make you an offer. What kind of offer? I leaned forward, lowering my voice. You're going to disappear. Tonight, you're going to pack your things, leave town, and never contact my wife again. In exchange, I won't share certain information with your wife's divorce attorney. What information? I pulled out my phone and showed him a photo. Damien and Celeste in a hotel room, timestamp clearly visible. His face went white. I have dozens more. Videos, too. Your wife's attorney would find them very interesting, especially the ones showing you spending marital assets on your girlfriend. You can't. I already did. The question is whether I send them to Connecticut Family Court or keep them to myself. Damien's hands were shaking worse now. What do you want? I told you. Disappear. There's a job opening in your company's Seattle office, isn't there? I hear the Pacific Northwest is nice this time of year. He stared at me in shock. How do you know about Seattle? I know lots of things. For instance, I know Morrison and Associates is conducting a full investigation into your conduct. I know HR is reviewing all your interactions with female employees, and I know your wife's attorney is very interested in your recent spending patterns. You did this. You destroyed my career. No, you did that when you decided to screw my wife. I just documented it. The truth of that statement hit him like a physical blow. He slumped back in the booth, looking defeated. What about Celeste? What about her? You're going to forgive her? Take her back? I laughed, a sound with no humor in it. Forgive her? She destroyed 17 years of marriage for 6 months with a coward who won't even answer her phone calls now that things got complicated. I never promised her anything. No. You just let her believe you did. That makes you pathetic, not innocent. Damien finished his drink and stood up unsteadily. You win. I'll take the Seattle transfer. Smart choice. And Damien, if you ever contact Celeste again, if you ever come back to this town, if you ever so much as think about my family, I'll make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of man you really are. He nodded and walked away, leaving his dignity in the booth along with his empty glass. Pete appeared at my table with a fresh beer. That looked intense. Just a business conversation. He won't be back? No, he won't. I finished my drink and drove home, feeling lighter than I had in months. One problem solved, one more to go. I found Celeste in our living room, surrounded by tissues and photo albums. She'd been crying, but her eyes were dry now, resigned. I've been thinking about what you said, she began, about telling you everything. And you're right. You deserve the truth. For the next 2 hours, she told me everything. How the affair started at a company retreat. How it escalated from flirtation to emotional intimacy to physical betrayal. How she'd convinced herself she deserved happiness, that our marriage was stale, that I wouldn't understand her ambitions. She told me about the lies, the fake conferences, the elaborate deceptions, about how Kendra had covered for her, how they'd laughed about my obliviousness, about how she'd planned to ask for a divorce after Damien's was finalized. I thought I loved him, she said finally. But when everything fell apart today, when I needed him most, he wouldn't even take my calls. I realized I'd thrown away everything real for something that was never real at all. And now you want me to fix it. I want a chance to earn your forgiveness. I know I don't deserve it, but you're right. You don't. I stood up and walked to our mantelpiece where our wedding photo sat among family pictures. 17 years ago, we'd promised to love and honor each other. She'd broken that promise systematically, deliberately, joyfully. I met with Damien tonight, I said. She gasped. You what? He's leaving town, taking a transfer to Seattle. You won't be hearing from him again. Ollie, what did you do? What you should have done months ago. I ended it. She started crying again, but I felt nothing. The woman I'd married, the woman I'd loved for nearly 2 decades, was gone. In her place sat a stranger who'd worn my wife's face while betraying everything we'd built together. What happens now? She asked. Now you pack a bag and go stay with your sister in Hartford. Tomorrow I'm calling a lawyer. We'll divide the assets, work out custody arrangements for when Maddie's home from college, and file for divorce. Please don't do this. We can fix this. We can go to counseling, work through it. There's nothing to work through. You made your choice 6 months ago. Now I'm making mine. She looked at me with desperate eyes. I'll do anything. I'll quit my job. Oh, wait, I already lost my job. I'll move away from here, start over somewhere else. We can start over. I don't want to start over with you. The finality in my voice seemed to break something inside her. She nodded slowly, accepting what she'd known was coming since the moment she decided to cheat. I never meant to hurt you, she said. Yes, you did. Every time you lied to me, every time you came home from being with him, every time you looked me in the eye and pretended to love me while planning to leave me, you meant to hurt me. You just didn't think you'd get caught. She had no answer for that. I watched her pack a suitcase, the same expensive luggage she'd used for her fake business trips. As she folded clothes and gathered toiletries, I felt a strange sense of completion. The marriage was over, had been over for months. But now it was officially finished. I'm sorry, she said one last time as she stood in our doorway. I know you are. You're sorry you got caught, sorry you lost your job, sorry your boyfriend abandoned you, sorry you have to face consequences. But you're not sorry you did it. If you could go back and do it again without getting caught, you would. She opened her mouth to deny it, then closed it. We both knew I was right. After she left, I poured myself a scotch and sat in my empty house, listening to the silence. Tomorrow would bring lawyers and paperwork, division of assets and custody arrangements. There would be gossip and judgment, sympathetic friends and awkward social situations. But tonight, for the first time in months, I was alone with the truth instead of surrounded by lies. My phone buzzed. Text message from an unknown number. This is Damien. I'm sorry about everything. For what it's worth, she really did love you. I deleted the message without responding. Some apologies come too late to matter. Over the next 6 months, I watched Celeste's life continue its downward spiral from a comfortable distance. She moved in with her sister permanently after failing to find another job in corporate communications. Word of her firing had spread through professional networks. Damien's transfer to Seattle became permanent when his wife took him for half his assets in their divorce settlement. Kendra Walsh was quietly let go from Morrison & Associates after their investigation revealed multiple policy violations and breaches of confidentiality. She blamed Celeste publicly, ending their friendship in a spectacular social media meltdown that entertained our small city for weeks. As for me, I threw myself into my renovation business, which thrived as word spread about my reliability and attention to detail. Turns out, people appreciate a contractor who finishes what he starts and doesn't cut corners. I bought out Celeste's half of the house and renovated it completely, erasing every trace of our life together. New floors, new paint, new furniture. A fresh start in familiar surroundings. Our daughter Maddie took the divorce hard at first, but she adapted. College had given her perspective on adult relationships, and she was old enough to understand that some marriages simply run their course. She spent summers with me and holidays with both of us, carefully neutral. "I'm proud of how you handled everything, Dad," she told me during one of our weekly phone calls. "You could have been bitter and angry, but you took the high road." If she only knew. But that's the beauty of perfect revenge. Nobody recognizes it as revenge. They see natural consequences, professional accountability, personal choices. They see a man who handled betrayal with dignity and moved on with his life. They don't see the careful planning, the anonymous tips, the psychological manipulation that brought it all crashing down. They don't see the satisfaction I felt watching my wife's perfect life implode piece by piece. Sometimes the best revenge isn't a dish served cold. It's a dish served so perfectly that your enemies think they cooked it themselves. I never told anyone the full truth about what I'd done. Pete suspected, but Pete was loyal. Marcia thought I was a saint for not fighting dirty in the divorce. Even my lawyer praised my mature approach to a difficult situation. Let them think what they wanted. I knew the truth. Oliver Harlan wasn't the harmless, underestimated contractor everyone thought he was. When pushed too far, when betrayed too completely, he was capable of systematic, devastating revenge. And the best part? Celeste never figured it out. To this day, she believes her affair was discovered by bad luck and corporate investigation. She has no idea her husband orchestrated her destruction with the same methodical precision he brought to home renovation projects. She destroyed our marriage thinking I was too weak to fight back. She learned otherwise, but by then it was too late to matter.